Hello everyone, this is Juan Bloise here with Watchdog Interpreters, and in this video I have an update on the SOSi contract with ICE to track down illegal immigrants and the unfortunate response from the WFSE Union and L&I about it. Because instead of removing the SOSi company, the WFSE Union and L&I decided to justify their contract with ICE. Now let's get started. And as always, please remember to pause the video at any time to read the information you see on the screen. This is an image from my last video showing the SOSi contract with the Department of Homeland Security to help ICE track down illegal immigrants with an ending date of January 19th last month. However, as you can see in this image from thefederalcompass.com, another indefinite contract was awarded to SOSi on December 16th last year, extending their skip tracing services or tracking of illegal immigrants and expected to last 2 years until December 14th, 2027. It says here at the bottom that the federal government awards an indefinite delivery contract to support requirements where the quantity and time of delivery are unknown. And to double check, I searched and found the contract on usaspending.gov showing it was awarded to SOSi until December 2027. So there you have it. The SOSi company keeps making money hunting down illegal immigrants while still providing interpreters to injured workers, many of whom are illegal immigrants, thus perpetuating this massive conflict of interest. But the WFSE Union sent an email lying to interpreters saying they were made aware of SOSi's contract with DHS to help ICE, but they knew from the beginning though. However, they emailed their concerns to Joel Sachs, L&I's director, on February 2nd. This is L&I's response in this image, acknowledging the fear generated because of SOSi working with ICE. However, they are providing a false sense of security, claiming that L&I's contract with SOSi requires SOSi to abide by the Keep Washington Working Act to protect workers' confidentiality and that it is illegal for SOSi to share this information. Now, I know immigration is a complex issue, and I'm not going to get into all the details here, but I will tell you this. The Department of Homeland Security is part of the federal government, which is above all state governments when it comes to immigration. In fact, the state of Washington isn't required to cooperate with ICE to arrest illegal immigrants, but they have no authority to stop ICE from operating in Washington state. Ask an honest immigration attorney and they'll tell you the same thing. If SOSi decided to cooperate with ICE, there is nothing L&I can do about it except cancel their interpreting contract, but they're not willing to do that. And in the last paragraph here, the WFSE Union ends by saying this about SOSi. Quote, "They have assured us that any information regarding L&I and the workers we serve is kept entirely separate from other parts of their businesses." End quote. So basically, SOSi said to the WFSE Union, "Trust me, bro." And then the WFSE Union said, "Oh yeah, totally, bro." To top it all off, SOSi sent another "Trust me, bro" email to L&I interpreters on February 12th, saying they've never shared provider, interpreter, or patient information with ICE, and that they would never do so without permission from the state of Washington. They're telling you this knowing full well they don't need the state's permission to help ICE because they're contracting with the federal government. The truth is that the state of Washington is powerless against ICE. That's why politicians have been introducing laws to mitigate the situation, like Senator Drew Henson here shown in this image, who introduced a bill in December last year to expand protections from ICE for students, childcare workers, and patients. Also expanding policies from the Keep Washington Working Act, referenced from L&I earlier in this video. The problem is that, as you can read at the bottom here, the SAFE Act does not stop enforcement because it only sets boundaries to protect families, but ICE doesn't care about state boundaries because, once again, they don't have to. Also, the House passed a bill to warn immigrant workers about ICE inspections, as you see on this image. And this is another workaround from the state of Washington requiring employers to notify workers within 3 days of receiving notice from federal officials to inspect workers' immigration documents. But as you can read at the bottom, the law would not interfere with federal immigration enforcement. Once again, they're powerless against ICE. Knowing all of this, the WFSE Union wants you to trust L&I and the SOSi company, the same company that had a massive data breach 2 years ago, as you can see in this image from a video I made informing interpreters about it. Back then, SOSi was requiring interpreters to provide proof of citizenship, a green card, or legal status, ignoring interpreters who had been contracting with L&Is as DACA recipients or otherwise without legal status. They gathered all of that information in the registration process as a new company to Washington State, then suffered a massive data breach, leaking extremely confidential information from interpreters such as social security numbers, addresses, and bank account numbers, and WFSE leaders knew about it. The situation was so bad back then that an interpreter from the Yakima area reached out to me saying that a WFSE Union leader representing the Yakima area had seen everyone's information. Back to the present time, a trust me bro from this same company that could not protect interpreters' information 2 years ago is enough for the WFSE Union to believe they're gonna keep interpreters and patients' information separate from ICE. You see, the WFSE Union talks a big game, wanting you to believe they care about immigrants' rights. They even have courses for immigrants, as shown in this image from their website, with educational information about law enforcement and ICE, letting immigrants know about their rights during an ICE encounter, as you see here. Very well, you think, wow, they're doing something, right? Look, back in August last year, they even demanded that ICE release a WFSE member, standing up to ICE. Looks good, right? Also saying, quote, WFSE vehemently opposes ICE, a contradiction of American values, end quote, referring to ICE activities. They even declared themselves a quote-unquote sanctuary union to keep their members safe, but chose to defend SOSi's contract with ICE instead of opposing it. Looks like they are a sanctuary union for their members, as long as they're not interpreters. Now, these last two images will open up your eyes even more. Pay attention to this. This is a social media post from WFSE dated June 9th last year. They joined an emergency rally protesting ICE for detaining a leader from another union, the SEIU, but zero protests against SOSi, their preferred company, which is contracting with ICE and able to harm many of their members because of it. You cannot make this up. And their hypocrisy is in full display here. This is an Instagram post from the WFSE Union from January 26, 5 days before they supposedly became aware of SOSi's contract to help ICE track down illegal immigrants. Here they say, quote, WFSE calls for an end to the brutal ICE tactics, end quote. And read it here at the bottom with me. Here they end the post by saying, quote, none of us can take ICE or the multi-billion-dollar private prison industry that is profiting from ICE's campaign, but together we can and we will. So wait a minute, they hate private prison industry companies profiting from ICE, except SOSi making millions of dollars from ICE while in a contract with L&I because they said, trust me, bro. In closing, I'll say this to you. This isn't about advocating for or against ICE. This is about informing you and arming you with the truth. Now, after seeing all of the evidence of how the WFSE Union doesn't care about its members, about interpreters in general, this is when you make a decision once and for all. If you are a WFSE member, this is the moment when you opt out of this union once and for all and cancel your membership. If you do not opt out, then you are complicit and your money is funding their operation. Essentially, you're part of the problem. Because you have the right to opt out of the WFSE Union and stop union dues. You know this. So do the right thing. Go to optouttoday.com/WFSE1671 to opt out of their union and keep your hard-earned money. See you in the next one.